Hi everybody, my name's Alan. On behalf of my co-host Constancia, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. And I was just thinking, I mean, so much goes on, getting this set together and, all the crew and the guests and the audience come in and just what a special day it is. It's special because we're alive, because there's so much beauty within us and in this incredible world we live in. And with all the craziness that goes on, which certainly does happen, there's just such an opportunity for us all to come together and really experience that love and the compassion and the openness of heart that human beings are capable of. And certainly the show tonight is a special show for that. We have really beautiful videos and incredible music, and just hopefully we'll have discussions that open the heart and open the mind and just bring love through the airways into your lives, and we'll hopefully experience it here. We have with us tonight Tim Conway, who's written a really powerful and incredible book about women spiritual masters who, you basically don't hear that much about, at least in the Western world. It's called Women of Power and Grace, and it's really a powerful book about, I guess it's about 8 of the different spiritual teachers throughout history who are of the female species, although they're not another species. And we have Abigail, who's, just an incredible angel, and she's been on a lot of the shows here, and everybody calls up and just wants more and more of her, and we're just delighted to have her, to be able to sing a few songs for us and for you tonight. So as we usually do at this time, to help in that heart-opening process and the experience of love that we hope to share with you tonight, Constancia usually leads us in a meditation and invocation.
Thank you. So maybe you can join with me as we open our hearts and ask to come before Father, Mother, God, as the children, as daughters and sons of God. And tonight we're going to focus a little bit on Divine Mother, on the divine feminine aspect of deity, on the divine feminine principle, the creative principle that brings form into being. And we mean not to move into separation when we do this. We are simply balancing and calling for a balance of the masculine and the feminine. And as the pendulum swings, we allow this opportunity to call forth the masters that are feminine, and we ask to do this in completion, in balance, and knowing that there is only one here. There will be only one singer, only one speaker. There is only one everywhere, the one Most High, the one God, masculine and feminine. And so tonight we call forth to Archangel Michael and to Archangel Faith. We call forth to all of the archangels and their counterpart archangel, the feminine ones that are not necessarily known. We call to Yophiel and Constance. We call to Hamuel and Charity. We call to Archangel Gabriel and Archangel Hope. We call to Archangel Uriel. And we call to Archangel Zadkiel and Amethyst. And we invite the feminine and masculine energies of Metatron, Melchizedek, and the Christ energies of Lord Maitreya and Lord Sananda into this room now and into our hearts. We call forth to Mother Mary and to Mary Magdalene. And we call to the goddess known in Egypt and known actually throughout the world, to Goddess Isis, who is known for bringing the Christ son and daughter into being, bringing form into being through her son Horus. And we call to Goddess Hera of the Greek tradition, the goddess of beauty and wisdom. And we call to Guan Yin, goddess of mercy and compassion. And we also call forth to the goddess in each of us, male and female, and to our I am presence, that is male and female. Asking tonight to balance the feminine principle of love and wisdom with the masculine principle of God, that is power. Knowing that in order for us to come into our true beingness, our true selves, and our true oneness with Father, Mother, God, and be the Christ that we are, we need to balance power, love, and wisdom within us, the threefold flame. And so, maybe we can just all move into our hearts, calling forth these energies, asking for the awakening energies of the masters and the thought forms of the masters and the angels to merge with us and come into our own beingness and help us to lift into our ascension, into our enlightenment, and into our unfoldment as divine daughters and sons. And so maybe we can just take a moment and move into the silence together, asking that our higher chakras come into our bodies now, that our four-body system, our four-body system, spiritual, physical, emotional, that all these bodies come into balance one with the other. And we call forth now to an increase in our light quotient, so we can hold more light. Asking for all of the chakras to open up, all of our bodies to open up, asking for the celestial marriage of heaven and earth within us, of male and female, of our highest chakras and our highest bodies to come into the oneness that we are. And so moving into the silence, connecting with the earth and the heavens, as above, so below. Thank you. I don't know about all of you out there. All I know is the energies in here are so strong that I actually forgot where I was. I forgot what was being said. I was kind of taken away, and I heard Alan going, like that. And it was just, I just feel that soft energy. It's just so powerful. And just a real wonderful feeling here in the studio, and I hope in your homes. Continue to open up and like consciously open your crown as you listen tonight and as you hear and feel, and let the energies pour in, because there's a great energetic infusion of light happening now on the planet, and it's a very powerful time. The frequency of the earth is rising very quickly, and the magnetics are falling off very quickly, and we're kind of caught in the middle of all of this. And today feels like one of those days where it's really powerful. And so, yeah, tonight's going to be great. I'm really excited. You know, actually on the way over here, I saw the moon and the sun, and I was thinking of that song that you always used to sing all these years. Do you know the one about I've got the sun in the morning and the moon? Do you want to?
I think I sang last season. That was
anyway, it was such a perfect expression, seeing the moon and the sun, the masculine sun and the feminine moon, like out at the same time. And I went, this is a blessing.
Why don't you tell the people about that experience you had when you went to Chicago?
Yeah, I went up to Chicago, and I drove up to Wisconsin to see this white buffalo, and that she is a totally divine feminine being, and a white buffalo was born 2 years ago. Actually, it was in '94. And it was the prophecies of old that prophesized that a white buffalo would be born at this time. It was the Lakota Sioux that came through with this prophecy. And when she was born, this is totally rare. It's totally rare that a white buffalo even exists. The odds of that are amazing. But in the tradition, in the Lakota Sioux tradition, that time when a white buffalo would be born is the time when all the colors of all the peoples would come together in peace and harmony, and it's actually the transformation. It's a signal.
Actually, it's in a lot of Indian traditions.
Yeah.
That, you know, when the white buffalo is born, that'll be the time of reemergence. And
so anyway, I was up there, and I took a little excursion, and I went up to see her.
It's called Miracle,
and
right?
her name is Miracle.
Yeah, actually, I think there's a picture of her on the screen now.
And when she was born to this family, and they didn't know anything about like the sacredness of the white buffalo. They hadn't heard the story of white buffalo calf woman, who was the divine woman who actually told the Lakota Sioux about the prophecy. And as soon as she left, they had had a scarcity of buffaloes, and as soon as she left, buffalo came back in, and then they were all over the place. And she also said that a buffalo would be born, and the buffalo would turn every color of all of the people. So when I was up there, I was talking to the people, and she actually was born white, like that picture, and then she turned red, and then she turned yellow, and right now she's brown, and she looks a lot like her mother.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's an amazing story. She's going, and right now she has like a silver coat on top, and and then also all these people come from all over the world. They come and they bring gifts.
And this is a fence that's by there, right?
I believe you can see a picture of it where all the gifts of people came to see Miracle, even when it was not announced, it was not advertised. In fact, there were some Native American, some brothers and sisters that actually showed up.
The three magi.
They
the three
showed
Indian
up
magi.
within hours of the birth, when the people, whose farm it was, had absolutely no idea that it was even special, except that they were excited about having the birth. And people started showing up. They have an average of 300 or 400 people a day that are showing up to be in the presence of this divine buffalo. So I was just really happy to. And actually, our guest tonight, Tim Conway, has some video footage of Miracle, and I'm really glad because we're going to be able to show them at another time. So anyway, this is great.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story. Yeah, actually, I was thinking that maybe it's time for Abigail to sing.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful story.
Yeah,
So
this is one woman of, really power and grace. She is. So as soon as we're ready, we can hear Abby's song.
It's called Fast Talking. So it's a beautiful song, so we'll listen real close. Abby?
I'm giving it all up, desire. I'm giving it all up, put it back into the fire. And I don't want to know what's in it for me anymore. Gonna pick my feet up and get off the floor. Here is your passageway. The door is opening, the garden's yours. Here is your key to life. You live in harmony, man and wife. Man and wife. That's just the fire talking. That's just the fire's way. But you see through the fire. You'll put it out someday. Here is your passageway. The door is opening, the garden's yours. Here is your key to life. You live in harmony, man and wife. strapped to a pole. Flame all around me wants to swallow me whole. Voices all around me as they taunt me with my name. Faces of forever, yes, they still look the same. Voices all around me, intertwining in my mind. A flash in a plastic future and the rhythm of mankind. In comes the fire, he wants to swallow me whole. I say, you could have my body, but you'll never take my soul. No, 'cause I'm not gonna let go. Gonna ride this death like life. Gonna live it up. Oh, not gonna touch that man and wife. He says, who dares this woman to speak the truth? And I say, that's just the fire talking. That's just the fire's way. But you see through the fire. You put it out someday. That's just the fire talking. I'm giving it all up. Desire. I'm giving it all up. Gonna walk across the fire. And I don't wanna know what it is. Just wanna treat it like a floor. Till I get to the other side. I don't wanna know anymore. No. Here is your pocketbook. The door is opening. This land is yours. Here is your key to death. You live in a harmony, man and wife, man and wife. That's just the fire talking. You really know the way. Some people walk on fire. You'll do that too someday. That's just the fire talking. You really see the way. 'Cause you can see through fire. You put it out someday. Somebody told me that I gotta go to school. Gotta learn my lesson, gotta drive a vehicle. Gotta put on makeup, gotta button up my shirt. Gotta cover up my feet and keep them out of the beloved dirt. And I say no, that's just the fire talking. No, that's just the fire's way. For you can see through fire. You put it out someday. That's just the fire talking. You really know the way. Some people walk on fire. You put it out someday. That's just the fire talking. That's just the fire talking.
Thank you, Abby. That was really beautiful.
Let me just say, it's called fire talking,
Not
not
fast.
fast talk.
Alan's the
I'm
fast
the
talk.
fast talker, so it's like, what do I say?
And I'm the slow talk. Here's Timothy
Tim's with
Conway.
us.
Nice to see you both. It's a joy to be
Welcome.
on your show.
Really. You have brought some amazing stories, I know. Your book was truly amazing.
Thank you.
It was really very beautiful. It was an awakening experience for me.
I'm glad.
Women of grace and power and grace. And so let's start with your story. Tell your story for a while.
I'm reminded of a Chinese misfortune cookie. I once had a dinner party, and the actual misfortune was, yours is a very long and uninteresting story. I grew up as a Roman Catholic. My religion growing up was sports, though. And in my mid-teens, a few years before I had hit Abigail's age, I was going through severe depression because my athletic career was a shambles due to knee troubles. In fact, I just had my knee operated on about a week ago to correct a surgery It was not so successful when I was about 15. So I was also in my teens trying to find an identity, and there was this standard kind of identity crisis. And one day, just out of the blue, my 16th year, I call it God. Psychologists might want to call it something else. A spiritualist might want to call it something else. Just woke me up. And it was quite clear to me that our real nature is joy, that we're made out of God's love. The whole cosmos is an extraordinary miracle, a wonder of God's creative love. So this began to just keep me high all the time. Everyone thought I was on drugs. I had not touched anything.
But how did it unfold? Was this the backyard experience?
Yeah, I was just out in my backyard one day doing some breathing calisthenics after I'd had a severe case of strep throat. So my message to anyone there at home is you know not when that moment will strike, when your real nature, which is God in you, is all of a sudden going to say yes. And if there was anything on, quote, Timothy's part to bring on that experience, it was just recognizing that I had no resources on the human level, that in and of ourselves we're pretty mediocre. And so a part of me just opened up, said yes to the cosmic mystery, and God took over. At first I was just walking around for days with a smile on my face, and again, people thought I was on drugs or whatever, and I began to read the New Testament. I was really interested in Jesus because having been raised a Catholic, I wanted to know, what was he saying after all? What was he living? And it was quite clear to me that Jesus was living the presence of God. His very name means God saves, and I knew that was true in my case. And I began to go to church more often than I had been and go to various prayer meetings and study circles with Christians. Very early on, though, it was quite clear to me, though, that Jesus was talking about a deep experience of God, not just concepts, and I'm sure he didn't want us just to be sitting around reading the Gospels and trying to go out and proselytize and impose Jesus on others, because it was quite clear to me that Jesus' spirituality was this union with God, and he was inviting us into the same experience. So I began to explore. It was quite clear to me on the intuitive level that we have many great spiritual leaders who've come down onto this planet, and I wanted to find out more about their stories, their words, and I found that they don't disagree with Jesus. Each teacher, each tradition, yes, each teacher and tradition has a unique flavor, and I honor the differences, but at the deepest level, there's this non-dual truth, this shared truth.
So that's right.
So I wound up going all over the world, meeting dozens and dozens of living spiritual masters. I poured through libraries and obscure bookstores all over the world, looking for texts that would reveal something about the lives and the teachings of these great spiritual
Because at this
leaders.
point, this was basically all that interested you, more or less. Right.
Yeah. Holiness, wholeness,
Right.
living God. How can I live it as much as possible?
Right.
Was this before you started your schooling and your college and studied it that
Well,
way?
I was in high school when all this started, Jesuit high school in Los Angeles, and some of the Jesuit priests and teachers, they recognized a budding mystic on their hand, and some of them were mystics. And I remember one Catholic priest telling me one day, "Timothy, it's all God, it's all God." When I was wondering about what is this separation between man and God that most of the Christian denominations posit, and certain other religions as well. So I went on to college at the University of California at Santa Cruz, majored in psychology and religious studies because I knew they need each other to balance each other out. We need spirituality to deepen psychology. We need psychology as a check against some of the emotional excesses or imbalances you find in some circles of not quite so mature spirituality. And then from there I went on, got a teaching credential, worked with children for a short time, then decided I wanted to go to grad school and just have a chance to get more deeply into some research topics and generate some books. So that's kind of what led me to this book. This is actually the first fruit of a much larger project.
Right.
that names over 1,000 women from our sacred tradition.
So what gave you the impetus? Was it that, you know, almost all the great theoretic great masters seem all to be male, and you were coming across all these great female masters,
Yes.
and no one really knew about it?
Exactly. At the start, had no bias whatsoever, male, female,
Right.
spiritual master. I see them all as these marvelous dream figures who have come in this wondrous dream, and they're saying, wake up. You are more than this body-mind. The world is more than what it seems at its surface appearances.
Why do you think it is that? Is it because of the patriarchal nature of humans to this point that the men are all, the Jesuses and the Krishnas and Buddhas and Mohammeds are revered, and the others are not quite so? The women, the female aspect of that same energy is not so revered or known?
It's a complex situation. We know from the research of people like Maria Gimbutas, Peter Mellard, Merlin Stone, and others that there seems to have been, we're not completely sure about this, but the evidence certainly leans in this direction that about 6,000 years ago, after thousands of years of a metristic-oriented civilization, where God was the goddess, somewhere around 6,000 years ago, these patriarchal societies began to arise with more of a reverence for male sky gods, and often very warrior-like.
Right.
The feminine was still included in many of the ancient pantheons. In fact, there's evidence that Solomon's Jewish temple had an honoring of the feminine as well. But slowly the feminine presence died out, and with the rise of the major religions, which are patriarchal as the way the organizational men structured them, not so much the founders, but the organizational men, what began to happen is you had male scribes telling stories about male leaders.
Right.
And down the ages, there would be note of some of these great women spiritual leaders. And sometimes they had huge followings, but in the bottom line of history as it's come down to us today, many of these women's stories have been lost.
And you felt that it was really a beautiful time and an opportunity for you to tell some of these stories. And you started out with this book that has like more detailed, about 8 of them, right?
Actually 9 women. And it was hard to keep it at 9. It was hard to keep it at 9.
And the next book you're doing that you're working on now is 1,000, right?
Yeah, it's called Women of Spirit, a source book of saints, teachers, goddesses, and sisterhoods, East and West.
I think it's really remarkable that you are in a male body doing this, and I really honor you for that.
Thank you.
I think it's and the book was very, very powerful. I learned a lot about some of the ones that I didn't know about some of them, and some of them I now know more about. And actually, you brought some pictures of them.
Yes, I did.
Do you want to? Is
I don't know
it
if our
time?
camera will be able to show a little montage of some of the women.
Yeah, why don't you just talk
Maybe
about
you
them?
can start talking, introducing them.
Basically, these women, out of the 1,000 or more, I've lost count at this point. I'll have to do a computer check and isolate just how many women are in this upcoming project. But in this particular book, Women of Power and Grace, 9 astonishing, inspiring luminaries of our time, I was intrigued by the level of drama and heroinism in these women's stories. Also, with some of them, we have some extraordinary teachings, and they really hit home. Now, in this larger project, we have a lot of very powerful women with powerful stories and powerful teachings. Something about these different women, they're very diverse. Some come from wealthy backgrounds. One was an Afghani princess growing up. One was a mayor of a town in Russia. She had real political clout. One was an abused child, basically, Amachi. We'll hopefully focus more on her later because she's alive today.
Yeah, we have a clip of her coming up later. Yeah.
The bottom line is that all of these women risked it all. They trusted or had faith in a deeper presence behind the body, mind, me personality. And they were willing to kind of surrender into this, to dissolve into this, and find out what happens when you completely vanish into this larger truth, this profound presence of God. And so I decided, maybe it was decided for me, that these were the women to be in the book. In the forthcoming project, you'll hear more about women from the Tibetan Buddhist traditions, the Jewish Hasidic tradition, and other traditions that aren't covered in this book. In this book, there's actually 2 Catholic women, 2 women from the Eastern Orthodox traditions that most Western Christians don't know about. One Muslim Sufi mystic woman, lived to be about 140, evidently. And then 4 women of India representing the Vedanta Hindu tradition. So it's a little apparently imbalanced because we have these other religions that aren't included, but in the next project we'll correct that.
But they were all so amazing in their
Yes.
in their thirst and in their just a total abandonment. And they really they just lived for God. I mean, they were one with that wish, and their practices, and they were amazing. And what was the one who actually went with her sisters into the Nazi camp?
That was Mother Maria Skoptsova. She was the mayor of a town in Russia, kind of a Bolshevik intellectual type. But pretty soon the Bolshevik party line was far too oppressive and violent and corrupt, and so she felt the need to just leave that all behind. She had been interested in spirituality for many years. In fact, she had written a small book about saints of the Eastern Orthodox tradition.
I think she's the first one.
Yeah, in the
over
upper
there.
left corner there on the
Just to like her sisters were going in the concentration camp, and they were going to go to their last breath basically, and they were afraid, and just to help them with their fears, she volunteered.
Yes.
I mean,
she stepped up with them and went off, and it turns out the camps were liberated the next day by the Allied powers. Had she not done that, she would have lived probably another few decades, although she'd been severely weakened by her time in the camp. Yeah, basically, she came down from Russia with her family. She was married, had a couple of children, actually an illegitimate child. Some of these people, they come from backgrounds that aren't completely holy by some people's standards. But she was an authentic woman. She lived this compassion, and she came down into Paris with her family and began to help the Russian emigres. And then when the Third Reich and the Nazi armies came in and occupied France and Paris and other parts of Europe, she began to work along with some colleagues who were working with her in these service projects. She began to help liberate Jews, get them safely out of Europe to America or down to the Holy Land. And then finally the Nazis were onto her, and she bravely just told the truth about what she was doing, and they took her off.
But basically they're fearless. In a way, because they're connected to something that is not dependent on even them having a physical body, which for the rest of us.
Yes. And this gets really interesting, you see, because it's not just a concept that they have realized spirit, that they have transcended the body-mind. It's like some new power is living there, doing their lives, and radiating out to touch other people. To this day, I mean, some of these women are now, quote, without a body, but I get letters and phone calls from people who've read this book all over the world, and they're crying, or there's tears on the letters as they talk about having visions of these women, having dreams and inspirations and creative breakthroughs, having their relationships healed or their bodies healed. And they feel that these women, it's unbelievable.
Senses that they just...
I knew when I was writing about this that I was getting plugged into some current, and all sorts of, quote, synchronous things were happening as I was writing the book, little things that helped the project along.
But it's never just them in the book, because actually, when I was reading the book, I just stopped for a moment and just called on the energy of Anandamayi, and the second one up there. That she's just so exquisite too, physically exquisite.
Don't we have a clip of her and a clip of her?
Video footage.
Yeah, we have some video.
And that energy can come if you call it. And that energy can come and merge with yours.
Now, some people might, think, well, I can't believe that. It violates the laws of physics. Well, I would encourage you, as I did years ago, to really read through what's going on in modern physics. Actually go and read the journals and some of the breakthrough scientific experiments and the revelations that are coming through. It turns out that, like the subatomic particles that manifest both a particle-like nature and also a wave-like nature. They're both fixated in space-time and also spread out in space-time. So also it appears now that human consciousness can also operate as an ego in this skin-encapsulated space of me, or it can be in a more godly mode, spread out in love, compassion, blessing force. And that's true with these women. God is using their forms while they're alive, and after they've given up the physical form, there's still a subtle body energy that God is using that allows that form to appear in people's visions or meditations or dreams or whatever. So it's an extraordinary miracle we're a part of. As I said, this colossal dream.
I picked out the scene where she's talking and giving satsang. What's the name?
I'm very...
Yeah, so if we could set that clip up.
Yeah.
Why don't you describe it? She's sitting and giving satsang to like the multitudes, and she's talking about, basically what you're saying.
Well, satsang is we're seeing Mother Meera Skoptsova on screen now, I guess, the woman who helped with liberating the Jews. Anandamayi Ma, with her long brunette hair, she's up there in that montage. I don't know if you'll get a chance to see her image on screen. We do have the clip. Ma was born in 1896 up in Northeast India, was betrothed at an early age. Later, her husband was brought to consummate the marriage. It wound up being a celibate marriage because she was just radiating, a zillion watts, and he would just be having these literal experiences of electric shock when he would touch her body. She began to manifest these extraordinary yogic postures, very advanced ones right out of the blue. She was plugged into this ancient knowledge of Sanskrit that she had never learned.
Absolutely. I think we're actually being told that we're ready for the clip.
Okay, so let's see that. Yeah, it's an incredible clip. Yeah, she's really beautiful.
Satsang means company of truth, and that's what you'll be experiencing.
The mother travels extensively in India at the invitation of her many devotees. Crowds gather wherever she goes to get so much as a glimpse of her. After such receptions, the mother will sit for hours on end until she has personally seen each of the thousands of people who have come.
So go ahead and talk about it.
Yes, actually we saw a clip of Amici, who's kind of an unofficial successor to Anandamayi Ma. They have virtually identical teaching, and we'll focus more on her a bit later.
And she's still
alive today.
Body and
she's in her early 40s.
And you actually had an experience.
Yes, I did. We hugged each other, and it was truly amazing. People really open up, and she heals people by hugging them. It's really beautiful.
Millions and millions of people. Every day of her life she's doing this. Her stamina alone is some kind of a divine, miraculous gift.
So now we're going to go to Abby singing 2 incredible songs. So as soon as you're ready, we'll start with Abby. Abby, take it away.
Sometimes I place myself upon a shelf so high of where I cannot reach, until I try and And as I clear my shelf, well, I find some reasons why I'm sitting on a shelf above myself, just looking at myself upon a shelf so high. Oh, climb up the stairs, don't be afraid. All that you want is already made. There's things I thought I lost, but now, for here they are. I wipe away the dust from this old rusty jar. I look inside what I once knew that brought me to be sitting on a shelf above myself. Oh, you climb up the stairs, don't be afraid. All that you want is already made. Climb up the stairs, don't be afraid. My love, all that you want is already made. La-di-dum, 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 oh, la-di-dum, la-di-dum, la-di-dum. I learn about myself a lot as I'm alone, although I know I'm not. I must learn on my own. I've looked inside the sky to see true answers there of what, when, or why. I must prepare. Oh yeah, climb up the stairs, don't be afraid. But all that you want is already made. Climb up the stairs, don't be afraid. My love, all that you want is already made. La-di-dum, la-di-dum, oh, la-di-dum, la-di-dum, la-di-dum. There once was a bachelor who lived by the sea, knew nothing more than what eyes could see, wanted a lady to hold and to be with him for life in true matrimony. Rum-dee-ri-di, 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 rum-da, rum-dee-ri-di, rum-dee-di, rum-dee-di-ri-di. He called across the ocean, where can you be, my lady? I want to find you, I want you with me. I look no further, a voice said to hear, I am your a thorn. Oh, but I wanna explore the ocean floor. I wanna see the things I never saw before. But how can I get my air when it seems there's no bottom down there? How can I get my air when the bottom's an illusion? I wanna live, but I don't wanna die. I wanna love, but I don't wanna die. But the deeper that I sink, the higher, the higher, the higher I can fly in the ocean, where the love is wet in pure devotion. I'd land that ocean, where the love is meant in pure devotion. And a voice came echoing from the abyss below. I can feel it coming, I can feel it, here you go. Don't you worry, even if you die, you will return. But don't waste your breath, 'cause to live, to live, to live, you gotta live, to live. Rum dee da rum dee da rum dee da rum da rum dee da rum dee rum dee da dee da rum dee da rum dee da rum dee da rum da rum dee da rum dee rum dee da dee da. Breathe from your own source and hold it in mind.
Excellent.
I'll tell you, every time Abby sings, it just blows me away. I mean, she sang like for an hour straight somewhere else, and we have a tape of it. And I'm just playing it all the time now. I mean, there's just something so powerful about it. So I just had this question, Tim. I mean, you've done an incredible amount in a way of research on spiritual people. As it turns out, you seem to be looking at more of the female energy of that. Now, I mean, other than like waiting in your backyard for God, are there any like things or techniques or, you know, like hints or, you know, for like the vast viewing audience out there?
Each of us is different. Another work I have coming along, it's kind of a secret at this point.
Because we have too many people watching. Once you let it out here,
it's actually, I'll probably reveal some of it in a book I'm actually writing now about Jesus. Jesus, who's a little deeper than either the biblical scholars. We're each of different temperaments. Some are of a more devotional temperament, some a more intuitive, wisdom, non-dual orientation, who would practice, for instance, a self-inquiry path of who am I? What is awareness that's aware of these arising sensations and thoughts? Some are more yogic in their temperament. They're doing experimentation on a psychic level with various forms of attention and kinds of visualization. Some are more the servers. They really want to be out serving and being active, and they lose the ego sense that way. Depending on your temperament, you're going to have a different orientation. So I don't give one blanket technique for anyone, but if one can speak about going deep in qualities like sincerity and earnestness and willing to be completely empty, willing to be nobody.
Yeah, I always thought, I used to tell Wisconsin that actually what we want to do is become nothing.
Exactly.
Right. And I was going to write a book, Becoming Nothing.
You were going to write a book, the Nothing book, but then, then he couldn't do it because then
he said I would have been something, and it would have been something. So it was a real dilemma, but that's really what I've experienced, is that really that's what people want. They think they want to put more on and acquire things internally and externally, but really they just want to disappear into the everything.
In classes that I teach locally and elsewhere, and in forthcoming writing projects, it's quite clear that many people think that God is somehow an out there phenomenon who's not yet.
Right.
So it's this, I'm not there yet,
Right.
that I hear from a lot of people. And what I often tell them in these classes or in personal correspondence or whatever is, God is right where you are. God is your real self, your basic truth. God is the basic truth of everything. Otherwise, it would not be manifesting.
There's nothing else. There's no other existence.
How could we have a
Right.
universe? What
Right.
is that
Right.
singularity that went bang in this silent explosion
Right.
of
What
light?
is the intern of everything?
So
right.
if you just trust that God can be found in the quiet heart, the sincere heart, the heart that's willing to go deep and leave behind the known, the familiar, the problems and the pleasures, to really go deep. And that is really spontaneous meditation or centering or contemplative prayer. Everyone has this ability. And some will find it making music, working with their flowers in the garden, looking at a sky, feeling their breath, listening to sound, focusing on a story of a holy person, or being in church or
thanks
temple.
for coming. I mean, it's really been a beautiful night for us. And I think it's been a beautiful night for everybody. So just everybody, it's special because you're here, you're alive. I mean, I hope this show meant something to you. So good night. God bless you.